Hello, today we're diving into the significance of maintaining a regular blog for small and medium-sized UK law firms. From boosting your SEO to establishing thought leadership, we'll explore how consistent blogging can engage prospective clients, support social media strategies, and enhance client education. As always, I am joined by Scott Younger. Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
I'm very good, Damian. How are you?
I'm not bad. I'm not bad. A bit tired, but that's
We'll plow
uh,
through. We'll be okay.
yeah, busy and tired. I think they're good things. Right, so blogging, it's incredibly important. I think that's the thing that we can probably say right off the bat is that we'll go through all the reasons why blogging is important, but it's hugely important. That's why we're talking about it.
Yeah, and I think every every firm I think has something to talk about and something to add to this space as well. Obviously, in the legal sector, there's so many areas, and there's so many sort of myths and sort of different sort of complexities that people see sort of in terms of from a client perspective who are coming in and they sort of think, oh, this sounds a bit complicated, I'm not really sure what's going on. I feel definitely within the legal sector there's such a big opportunity for firms to help demystify areas of law and help explain them to prospective clients and break down these topics that are seen as quite complex into sort of easy, sort of more digestible ways of talking about these things. I think blogs are a great way to do that.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think there are some people that still think, and I'm sure, because I see it in their eyes sometimes, they go, oh, blogging's important. I see that glazed look, come over. It's like, people blog about holidays and food. So, but no, that was maybe 20 years ago, and blogging has moved on a lot since, and it is a crucial part to ensuring you get more people coming to your website. As one of the many benefits of it, which kind of leads me into what we will talk about first when it comes to blogging, and that's the search engine optimization part of blogging. So I'll go through a couple of things, and then we'll perhaps discuss that. So I think what we need to make sure it's clear that a regular blog content improves the search engine optimization by targeting keywords. We've talked about keywords in the past, so we don't need to go into specifically what they are. But essentially, what that does, it leads to higher search rankings, because our blog enables you to hit more of those keywords and what we call long tail keywords, which might be more difficult to put into a service page, for instance. And what it also does, it tells Google, by you putting on regular content, it tells Google that your website is being updated on a regular basis, which is one of the reasons why it will help rank your site higher up on the rankings, because that's what their algorithm's looking for. It's looking for a site to be updated more regularly. And there's the internal discovery to it as well, because you would link within a blog to another blog, or to a service page, or to About You section, which helps navigate your website a lot easier. But there's many benefits to it as well when it comes to the SEO side, and also when it comes to also the experience that a client or consumer, customer, or however you want to call it, comes to your website. Because if you go to a site and there's a service page that's got 2,000-3,000 words on it, it's going to put you off. You don't want that, but you need that information on your site in a different way, don't you?
Yeah, I completely agree, and I think it's helps you sort of distribute sort of content in various parts of your website. But in terms of completely agree about what you're saying in terms of sort of blog content and sort of regular content that comes onto your website. Sort of it does signal to Google and the sort of the bots that will regularly troll your website. That essentially your website is alive. Basically, you can think of a website like an organic entity. We obviously quite often you can quite easily see a site that's not been maintained for a long time. It sort of looks like a site from the 90s or early 2000s. basically Google will sort of basically make a judgment on your website based on the amount. When was the last thing that was posted on your website? Was it a year ago? Was it 2 years ago? If it's 5 or 10, it's starting to think maybe it's a bit of a graveyard, this website, and that will.
Yeah.
And you essentially get penalized in terms of search engine optimization and how highly Google ranks your site for particular search terms and keywords. So having a blog is a great, like I say, it's not you're not necessarily adding sort of new services and pages necessarily every day, but a blog, keeping a sort of a regular blog, even if it is sort of a monthly blog, can be a great way of just having fresh organic content coming onto your website. And if you've sort of got that keyword strategy that we've talked about sort of last time, if you've got sort of keywords that you're targeting, it's great to have blogs on those sort of topics. So you essentially got fresh content, but you're also sort of populating content that targets those keywords as well. So yeah, essentially it's, you want to tell Google that your website's still alive, alive and kicking, and blogs are a great way to do that.
Yes, it's a great way of making sure that your site is kept up to date, and it's a great way as well of getting more pages on your site, because the more pages typically on your site, the better it probably will be able to rank, because Google will be able to detect more keywords. For law firms, you're restricted to your homepage, the team page, maybe an about you section or a contact section, and then the rest is your services. And as I said, you don't want 2,000-3,000 words on a page about divorce. However, you would have your core messaging on there. Make sure it's optimized for search engine optimization, but also you'd then have all your helpful guidance and articles in your blog section associated with divorce to help people find your site for all the other different things that might be searching about when trying to get guidance and support for people who are going through a divorce.
Yeah, I completely agree. And it's also a way of doing sort of deep dives into sort of various, I guess, if you're thinking about sort of customer profiles as well, in terms of specific, quite sometimes that you might have a specific sort of legal query that you get quite a lot of business from. Potentially, in terms of divorce, there's different areas, obviously, that you want to focus on. If there's like child arrangements, for instance, that might be, you might want to do a blog that sort of deep dives into child arrangements in a greater detail than you necessarily put on a service page, for instance. So it basically allows you to go into that detail and basically populate some keywords and offer real sort of in-depth advice to your prospective clients to sort of entice them, I guess, to reach out to your team.
Yeah.
But you don't want to have that front and center in a service page. You can basically link to that blog, for instance, on that, and it's a way to have introduce internal linking, and also you're able to go into the detail that you need to go into, and also just it's a great way for, I think, as well, alongside sort of search engine optimization. There's also a great way to sort of introduce your team, and sort of kind of build up the profile of different members of your team in the areas that they specialize in. Yeah,
agree. I totally agree. And that extra content is it can be conceived as thought leadership content. And there are many ways in which that could benefit a firm and also help with a client. Do you want to discuss that with us, Scott?
Yeah, of course, happy to. Yeah, so in terms of thought leadership, obviously I sort of touched upon in terms of bringing sort of raising the profile, I guess, of particular staff members. But I think it's key in terms of what I guess in terms of how your firm is run. Do you want to increase the profile of particular staff members, like partners, fee earners, people like that? And also people who are sort of heads of departments in terms of particular law types that they focus on. The great thing about, and I've worked in a few different industries, but the great thing about the legal sector and law firms is that you've got real experts and specialists in a variety of fields just in one firm. So there's a lot of knowledge to draw upon, and you sort of want to make sure that clients are seeing that as well. You're not keeping all that secret knowledge to yourself. You're sort of showing off that to your clients in terms of ways that they can help you, ways that your staff can help clients in specific situations. In terms of sort of leadership, so I guess what we mean by that is basically sort of raising the profile and having sort of basically having specific staff members who are seen as sort of experts in their field, and having sort of and showing that knowledge they have in particular sort of law areas. So if you've got someone who focuses on sort of family law, what can they bring to that space? How can you show that they've got relevant expertise in that area? And yeah, just sort of essentially, it's not necessarily picking up your staff. It is just allowing them to explore their knowledge and share that with prospective clients, because that's what people are looking for a lot of the time. When you're looking for a law firm, you do want people to know what they're talking about, and you do want to have that expertise that they can draw upon and feel trusted that they can sort of have that when they're sort of progressing their case with you. So I think it is a key thing, and I think blogs can be a great way to do that.
Yeah, I completely agree. And with the individuals in the firm being the experts, it builds trust, builds that authority and trust that, you know, they know what they're talking about. These are experts. And with that, there are other benefits as well that come with it, which might not necessarily be top of the agenda, but they could be, you know, potential media opportunities for the people who have written these blogs, that they go on to podcasts like what we're doing now, or even guest written content on our websites. And not only does that help keep that person or establish that person as a thought leader and a trusted leader, but it all goes back to that firm as well. The firm being reputable and trusted within that service space.
Exactly.
And of course, you know, that you don't just have to always rely on the services or directly going through the what people typically will be looking for when it comes to a service. You can also blog on up to date and, you know, current legal issues. So if there's something that's transpired through a law change or something like that, then, you know, that is it's a great opportunity to be able to go and create a piece of content on that.
Yeah, even if it's like an opinion piece, because I think in terms of sort of industry press and sort of publications like the Law Society, they're often sort of looking for, I guess, opinion pieces or people who can comment on various sort of regulatory changes or legal changes. So there's a lot you can get involved with, and obviously I think people always have different opinions on certain things. You obviously don't want to go too controversial with it, but if there's a particular thing that you're very passionate about within your sector and within the particular law types that you specialize in, there's no harm in talking about it. And I think that may potentially shift the focus a little bit away from sort of clients, but in terms of sort of building up your profile within the industry as well, is not necessarily something to shy away from, because that can lead to opportunities, and it can definitely raise the profile of your business as well within the industry.
And again, it could be industry specific, or even for commercial customers, having case studies and things like that. You know, if you've got something that a case that you can clearly show how somebody has benefited from working with your firm, that's great for the commercial market.
And definitely, if you've got cases based around potentially trending stories at the time. Obviously we had the sort of scandal of the post office going on at the moment. I'm not necessarily saying that's the only thing, but if there's a particular sort of legal disputes going on that you have, and there's been high profile cases that you've been involved in, and that members of staff can comment on various things, that could also be an avenue to talk about, and I guess also sort of establish sort of thought leadership within something that has already gained press attention.
So I think the other thing that we probably need to mention is, just because you're, you know, writing blogs on a regular basis doesn't necessarily mean your site is going to, hopefully, fingers crossed, rank better. But it doesn't necessarily mean that more people will come to your site or see that content. So there are ways in which we can get that content out in front of potential clients, and that would be through social media.
No, definitely. I think social media is a key way of particularly getting blogs out there, because a lot of the time people aren't necessarily going directly to websites. They're going on social media, and then from there they're saying, "Oh, that's interesting," and then they'll click on a link to the website. So a lot of the time, if you want to get your blog seen by people, it's good to also have that on social media. It's also something that Google looks at in terms of having sort of it's being linked and looked at from elsewhere. Yeah. There's sort of a bit more of a diversity in terms of where the traffic's coming from. So I think, you've got, and into what you've got, really, you've got a whole range of obviously social media platforms to choose from, but it does really help increase your brand visibility, and obviously most of your clients will be on some sort of social media platform, especially I think with the younger generation. And that's sort of the way they are accessing legal services is more sort of digital first. And so if you're able to have your blogs linked to or shared on social media, it helps increase that visibility as well, and helps build up your brand.
Firms should have a social media content strategy, but certainly from a law firm perspective, it can be difficult to have new and frequent ideas about what content you're going to put on social media. So by utilizing your blogs, you have content there that you can share. And most of the platforms, if not all of the platforms, you can't share your blog to the platform. So say, for instance, you're sharing to Facebook, you'd actually be sharing a link to your blog on Facebook, which then means that you need to come up with some content for the post. And that could be snippets from the blog. It could be, the main question that might draw people to go to that blog. And you could potentially come up with a half a dozen pieces of content through imagery or infographics or words to link back to that blog. So you've got a couple of weeks worth of content potentially from one blog. You can even go a step further if you are someone who isn't afraid to step in front of a camera. You could talk briefly, just short videos, 30 seconds to a 60-second videos of just a little bit about what that blog would cover. Again, from a individual perspective, that really does help propel you as a thought leader and as an expert within that sector.
Definitely, I think it's also really kind of important to have that presence on social media as well, and having, like I say, you've got blogs, you can talk about sharing them on social media. There's also you also can use them in other ways. So you can use them for email. They can be the basis for an email campaign, for instance, as well. Yeah. If you're doing particular focus on conveyancing, and you've got a blog that's all about sort of facts and questions, FAQs about conveyancing, that's a great thing to include as part of that email campaign. That can sort of help. Sort of demystify that. It can be part of something that you regularly send out to sort of people just starting the conveyancing process. So there's a lot. Blogs are the great thing about blogs as well, that they're very versatile. You can use them and sort of adapt them to various situations. They can be really useful sort of touchstone content in terms of stuff that you can sort of draw clients back to in terms of if it's sort of like almost like a help article or an FAQ. Yeah, it's sort of like, these are sort of the common issues that we have that may arise. This is sort of how we deal with them, things like that, to help reassure as well. Obviously, I think when we talk about sort of planning on for social media content, I think it's always good to think about, when you are planning the blog topics, sort of how else they can be used rather than just being put on the website and that's it. Yeah, it's always good to think about sort of the versatility of topics and sort of how it can be applied to different things. And I think it can spark discussions. There's a whole range of things that can be done, and blogs are a great way to support any sort of marketing strategies and campaigns that you are running as well.
Yeah, and then people who find these are typically what they're doing. They're trying to educate themselves. They're trying to become more informed on something. I'm sure you do it. I certainly do it.
Yeah.
When I'm, you know, I'd rather not waste someone's time by asking questions and try and, find out something about a subject myself. Of course, there are always that time where you have to speak to an expert and get advice. Doesn't have to be, I'm not necessarily talking strictly about the legal sector here, but there is always that point where you're probably going to have to speak to someone. But people will generally come to your blog because they are trying to find an answer to a question.
Yeah.
And then if they find that through your site, then they are more likely to probably return to your site or refer to your site anyway. And so just by giving someone some information, providing an answer to perhaps a question they have, doesn't necessarily mean they won't become a client. In actual fact, it will increase the chances of them becoming a client.
Like I say, it helps inform them. I think it helps inform them. It helps get your essentially get your clients to be able to sort of understand what's sort of going on in that particular law type. So in terms of, obviously, if I'm going through the process of a divorce and I don't know much about it, I'll want to go in and find out what the basics are, because obviously as a client, you're sort of wanting to at least know a little bit about it before you go into it, so you're not sort of surprised by what's going on. You're not going into it completely blind. So yeah, I think that's the key thing I would take from that. I think that it's really important to have that sense of, again, it's sort of the expertise in that area and having that real power to show clients that you know what you're talking about and to help them develop their knowledge along with you, I think is really key.
Yeah, you are.
And in terms of about talking points, we can talk about sort of how there is also the role that they have, blogs, in terms of educating clients, in terms of you can, like I say, you can explore in-depth legal topics. You can you essentially can build a suite of content that is pretty much there to help break down myths, to educate clients on various, potentially seen from outside as quite difficult or sort of complex subjects that are hard to sort of convey on smaller service pages. So there's a whole range of things you can do there. There's also, I think as well, you've got, I think that's a big part of it, I think.
Thank you very much. I think you're bang on the money there. And so just sort of to recap what we've covered in today's episode, we've talked about how blogging can help enhance the search engine optimization of a website. It establishes you as a thought leader, you as your firm and personnel within your firm. It helps you engage with prospective clients. It helps support your social media strategies, and it keeps your clients educated, which is always a good thing. Well, Scott, thank you very much for being my co-host today for today's episode. And thank you for tuning into this episode of QS Wayves. We hope you found these insights helpful for your marketing efforts. Don't forget to visit us at www.GrowWithQS.com for more resources and information on how you can help your firm grow. If you have any questions or need further assistance, feel free to reach us at marketing@qualitysolicitors.com. And until next time, keep making waves in your marketing strategies.